From the PEP Radio Newsroom, we have this news from Capitol Hill. Senator Jeanne Shaheen, the Democrat from New Hampshire, the ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, has introduced a bill to block President Donald Trump from taking over Greenland. The legislation, the NATO Unity Protection Act, would prohibit the use of Department of Defense or Department of State funding to blockade, occupy, annex, or otherwise assert control over the sovereign territory of a NATO member state. The legislation appears aimed directly at talk within the Trump administration about seizing control of Greenland, even though Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth told senators at a briefing last week that they are not planning a military operation against Greenland. It also comes as Representative Don Bacon, the Republican from Nebraska, joined House Democrats to introduce legislation called the No Funds for NATO Invasion Act, seeking to preemptively block the Trump administration from using military force to acquire Greenland. Greenland is governed by Denmark, a NATO member that deployed 18,000 Danish troops alongside American forces during the Afghanistan war. The mere notion that America would use our vast resources against our allies is deeply troubling and must be wholly rejected by Congress and statute, Murkowski said in a statement. Their legislation would affirm that the strength of NATO is critical to U.S. national security and recognize that any occupation or takeover of the sovereign treaty or territory of a NATO ally would violate the UN Charter and the North Atlantic Treaty. Shaheen said any suggestion that the United States might use its power to seize or control the territory of a NATO ally would directly undermine that alliance that keeps Americans safe. According to Breaking Point 360, sources confirm the U.S. House and Senate now have the votes to pass the bipartisan NATO Unity Protection Act, explicitly blocking President Trump from using force to seize Greenland, a Danish territory, again under NATO protection. And again, introduced by Senator Shaheen and Murkowski, the bill prohibits Department of Defense and Department of State funds from any blockade, occupation, or annexation of NATO lands amid Trump's escalating threats that risk shattering the alliance. This crucial stand safeguards NATO unity and U.S. commitments. So our question to you is, should the U.S. take over Greenland? Let us know by taking the poll on the PEP Radio channel. From the PEP Radio Newsroom, I'm David Moore.